Smorch, why do I have a $600 plane ticket addressed to me?
Because I wanted to get a first-class ticket to California.
Why were you in California?
Didn't you get my memo? They want me to be the new Overwatch hero, so I went there for a business meeting.
So what, you're like gonna do the voice?
No, they actually want to put me in the game. My character's gonna be able to burp flies and poison at everyone.
Well, bonus points for realism, I guess.
Yeah, that's why they increased Lucio's mobility, so we can escape my beautiful bodily functions.
I really wish I could escape them too, Smorch. We got a quick look at some new gameplay for Shadow of War the other day, and this one showed off a few new features as well as returning or expanded upon ones from the previous game. I've got a lot to talk about here, some good thoughts and some skeptical ones, so let's just dive right into it. First off, I still really like the direction that Shadow of War is going in. It reminds me a lot of the leap between Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2. The first game in the Assassin's Creed series was praised, and it had some really fun mechanics and ideas behind it. The sequel came along, though, and it blew the first one out of the water by simply expanding on what was already there while also offering some new elements that don't take over the core of the experience. Shadow of War looks like it's doing just that. The open worlds are still rather small, like in the original, but where many other games these days rectify that by making one huge map, Monolith has seemingly decided to just add in more maps roughly the same size as the first game. This allows for the ability to tightly pack in more content and add in an extra amount of level design to make the most of the space provided. One thing I'm very much looking forward to is being able to fight alongside allies in the Minas Ithil map. This is a new addition to the game that will hopefully raise the stakes when the player is fighting in battles. We saw in the gameplay that in addition to there being an orc faction complete with captains, there's also a separate list of Gondor generals that command the armies on your side. I do hope they expand upon the rivalry system in this regard to allow orc captains to slay Gondor captains and vice versa. It would add in another layer to make the world feel more alive. So hopefully all those ally captains aren't just there for story dressing, because I feel like that would be a big missed opportunity. Monolith has confirmed that there are going to be a greater number of maps as I addressed earlier. In this gameplay, it was really nice to see that each of these maps is going to function separate from the others like in the first game. Each map having its own Nemesis ecosystem is welcome, but I'd also like to see them change when the player isn't there. In Shadow of Mordor, the map mostly went static when you weren't playing on it. Having some algorithms working in the background to keep the maps fresh would be really great. I love Minas Ithil as a map due to the urban focus. It's going to be nice to have a break from some of the very open environments, and it looks to have a different feel to the first game. Hopefully, there is variety in other maps and fortresses in terms of level design. Now, there is something that's nagging at me every time I see gameplay so far. This isn't something game-breaking or really that big of a deal, as changing it would honestly be kinda pointless, but many of the animations in combat or doing basic actions are all the exact same ones that we saw in Shadow of Mordor. The presence of them doesn't actually bother me that much, but it does put the idea in my head that Monolith might be getting a bit lazy in parts of the game. I hope this isn't the case, but it is something that I need to mention whenever I see anything like that. But again, in reality, making animations that look different but of the same quality for no reason is probably the last thing they need to work on right now. So going back to the ally Gondor characters, I really hope they don't exclusively fill the role that we saw in the story mode of the original game, that being the sole purpose of having them around was to lead you through the map on missions or to protect them when they were injured. I personally prefer an open sandbox world and would love to see that crossover into your allies as well. But from what I saw, there is at least 2 characters in Minas Ithil that are permanent, and hopefully and probably that's enough. Overall, I'm impressed with the extra gameplay we saw, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of customized content for the player to experience. There look to be a few graphical and frame rate hiccups as well, but this is of course footage from an early build. Obviously that should be fixed for the release, and I really hope it is. One last note, I went back to that 15-minute gameplay video they released a few weeks ago and saw that people were getting pretty impatient in the comments area of that video. Guys, hold your horses, don't jump down Monolith's throat just because you want to see new gameplay footage constantly. There are many other games that release with cinematic trailers these days without gameplay reveals for even months afterwards. The fact is, Monolith gave you a lengthy gameplay video within weeks after announcing the game, and while you might not have new gameplay every week, they have been doing a ton of community live streams and happily take questions from everyone. If anything, from what I've personally seen, they're doing more than 90% of developers behind major publishers do these days, and I really have to commend them for that. So I think you're doing a good job so far, Monolith. You guys are getting a thumbs up from me. What do you think about this new gameplay? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read through all of them, of course. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, and if you want to support me, 2 different ways you can do that. VidMe, throw a tip on there, and I also have a Patreon that you can donate even $1 to. That'd be super awesome. I am Patty Jack. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day.